Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Ah, yes, my friends, conservative, not bitter indeed. It's good to be here, hour 2 of the program today. Last hour, we spent some time talking about this jet that Qatar has offered to the Trump administration, technically to the Department of Defense. This would be a temporary Air Force One. I went through pretty much the history and the timeline, exactly what is happening. This is not a personal private jet for Trump to use. This is not a personal gift to Trump. This would be used by the administration during this time between right now, which is when we're using the current antiquated, soon-to-be replaced Air Force One with the new model, which I went through all that. I'm not going to rehash that this hour, but I am going to play another clip where Trump confronts ABC News again, who's trying to paint this as something that it's really not. Again, they want you to think. What do they want you to think? They want you to think that Trump's in office to basically personally enrich himself. He's a greedy billionaire. You know, they're all over the place, really. They don't have a consistent narrative because they'll either tell you, on the one hand, that he is a failed, miserable, terrible business person, even though he's a billionaire. Now they want you to know that he is a billionaire and he's trying to get even wealthier, use his office for personal gain. By the way, if that's happening, I condemn that. That's not something I stand by. That's not something that anybody that I know stands by. But that's not what's happening here. Now you can say, as Ben Shapiro has said, Trump shouldn't do this. I don't see it that way. You can say that he shouldn't do it. It doesn't look good. It begs the question as to what they're wanting in return. They're not really our allies, all this sort of stuff. But again, through the lens that Trump looks at the world with, they are our allies because they're not actively out there trying to destroy Western civilization and so forth. They're not declaring jihad on the United States of America, that sort of thing. So anyway, I don't see that this is, people can have different opinions on this, but having an opinion based upon how the media has framed this is not the right path to go. And I went through the Hillary Clinton saga, the Clinton Foundation. I went through last hour. I went through the mess with the Hunter Biden laptop, wondering where the curiosity was from the media then. They didn't seem to have any concern about any of that. In fact, telling us that it didn't happen, telling us that we misunderstand. We don't fully grasp how complicated it is when Democrats are involved, and then they go radio silent. They go into airplane mode, pun intended, when Democrats are charged or alleged to have had these problems. But when Trump is the person who's in this position, although Trump has been completely transparent, forthcoming, working within the confines of the law, Democrats were operating in the shadows, on private servers, on personal computers, under the cover of darkness. The only reason we found out about any of those is because their system fell apart and information got into the hands of people that let the rest of us know. It's night and day situation different. The situation's night and day. So that's what we talked about last hour. I want to pick up where we left off, and I want to play an ABC News journalist who asked Trump again, basically what was asked in a way, what was asked in that question I played last hour, where Trump was asked if there were favors involved But it's a little bit more personal here. She's going to ask him, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? She asked this as Trump is signing an executive order. I think this might have been the executive order on the pharmaceutical pricing. I'm not sure, but this was yesterday. That's where we're headed this hour. Friends, before we get there, though, if you are a lover of seafood, let me introduce you to Kenai Fish. Kenai Fish is a family-owned company that brings you the absolute best wild-caught Alaskan seafood that's in the market today. They have salmon that's been harvested from the Kenai and Castle Off rivers. They have sockeye salmon, coho salmon, king salmon. They've got shellfish like king crab and snow crab, scallops. They've got halibut from the Gulf of Alaska. Friends, they've got a whole wide range of top-notch, fresh, quality seafood. It is sustainably harvested. It is vacuum sealed for freshness. It is shipped to you next day air. It gets right to your door, whether that's at your home, your business, wherever. Kenai Fish is for people who care about high quality seafood and quality in general, because listen, folks, if you're listening to this program, they know that you care about quality. So all you've got to do is go to KenaiFish.com, Kenai, KenaiFish.com. Use promo code Todd, and you will save 15% on your order. Again, that's Kenai. That's how you spell Kenai. KenaiFish.com. Promo code Todd saves you 15%, my friends. One taste of this seafood, you will be hooked. Yes, again, pun is intended. All right, so let us go now. Let us go now to the White House. Trump sitting down, signing, I believe, an executive order here. And he's asked by one of the journalists out there what he has to say to people who think the luxury jet, again, it's Air Force One. I just think about how, when people say the media is not biased, the way that they frame questions shows their bias. They're trying to hammer home an idea here. Trump's wanting a luxury jet as a personal gift from a foreign nation. That's what they want you to think. And of course, it is a luxury jet, but it's Air Force One, right? When Biden was out jetting around in Air Force One, did we hear that it was a luxury jet? It's just interesting the way that they choose to talk about things depending upon what angle that they're trying to push for people to consume and to, the particular decision or interpretation that they want people to arrive at when reading or listening to their stupid stories. So here it is. Here's that exchange. Hold on here. Took me to another page. I thought it would play from there. Hold on here. It's going to play directly from X. Let me cue this one up. Okay.
Luxury jet.
So here we go. You're going to hear her ask the question, and you're going to hear Trump's response. Just as this is happening as he's signing an executive order. Here you go.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why
It's
not?
only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us. I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. There was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto: when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. And then they putt it and they miss it. And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, as a businessman, some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and did not receive anything?
It's not a gift to me. It's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster.
So that's Trump handing out the insults to ABC News. There's some folks behind Trump, RFK Jr., Mehmet Oz, it looks like, a couple other folks. And some of these guys, you can tell they're not comfortable. RFK, it looks reasonably comfortable. I think he's used to it. A couple of these other guys are not comfortable. And Trump owns these moments. And I tell Oz this here in the studio, before the show, after the show, whenever I think of it. And I'll say, you know what? We're never going to have this again. And I am enjoying every second of this. We are never going to witness this again. We're never going to witness someone so masterfully dealing with these folks. And people aren't capable of doing what Trump does. It is not something, I don't think it can even be taught. But you just put yourself in this position. You got this, spotlight here. They're signing the executive order. Questions are being blurted out. Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? You're from ABC News, right? Fake news. Fake news, ABC News. You should be embarrassed for even asking me that question. What are you talking about? You're the only ones that would do it. Well, there's others that would do it here too. He didn't name them, but hey, NBC would probably do it. CBS would probably do it. CNN would do it. MSNBC probably already did it, right? This is what Trump does. You're fake news. They're giving us a free jet. Do you realize that? A free jet. What do you want me to tell them? No, it's a gift to our country. Have you not seen what I've been doing with Doge? Have you not seen that we've been trying to cut expenses? Have you not seen how mismanaged this country has been? Biden would probably have offered to pay for it. It's a stupid thing that Biden would have done. Or better yet, if it was something that happened on Biden's watch, it probably would have happened behind closed doors and ended up as a personal asset to the guy. What are you talking about? I don't want to pay $1 billion for this. We've done more than $1 billion, provided more than $1 billion worth of value to the nation of Qatar. They wouldn't exist without us. What are you talking about? I should just say thank you. He talks about a golfer named Frank Snead. Now, for those of you who aren't golfers, let me explain what he's saying here. Most of you get this. Some of you may not if you're just not familiar with the story. When you're playing golf with a group of guys, women too, but I'm just picturing my experience. Trump says he learned this from Frank Snead. If you're golfing with guys and the ball's close to the hole, right? It's within a certain distance. The guys that you're playing with, they might look at you and say, I'm going to give you that putt. Meaning you don't have to tap that putt in. And depending upon who you're golfing with, the speed at which they want to play, how confident they are in your abilities to make a putt, they might say it at any number of distances. I mean, at some point, they're not going to give you a 60-foot putt you got 2 breaks that you got to read and everything else. But if you're within a couple of feet distance, if you're golfing with somebody, they'll say, I'll give you that, pick up, let's go to the next hole. And Trump says that he learned from Mr. Snead, Sam Snead. Sorry, I said Frank. Sam Snead. He said, look, if they give you the putt, just say thank you, pick up your ball, and go to the next hole. Because why? Because I could go up to the ball. I'm not a good golfer, and this would probably be me. And they say that's a gimme putt, pick it up and go. No, I want to putt out. And I'll be honest, I am a guy that wants to putt out. Not because I'm stupid, as Trump seems to suggest here, but for his analogy, he's saying, look, we're being given a gift, and we're going to take advantage of it. I like to play it out because I'm a competitive guy, and I'm not on the course very much. In fact, I've not played in years. But when I go out there, I want to finish the hole. I want to see the ball go in the cup. Might take me a little bit longer, but I'm also not out there gambling. A lot of folks are gambling on the hole, right? Play whatever amount of money, depending upon who you're with. Could be huge sums of money or, a couple bucks here and there. So he says you pick up your ball, you say thank you, because I could putt the ball and I could miss it. Then what happened? I put myself in a disadvantage. That's what he's saying. Look, they've offered to give us a gimme. Here's a Air Force One. Am I supposed to say, no, let me put this out? No, let me write you a check? Of course I'm not going to say that. You think I'm stupid? Why are you framing it this way, ABC News? This is in my opinion, a non-story that they are trying to turn into a story to further the narrative that Trump is a dictator, someone who thinks he's a king, someone who doesn't want to follow the normal procedures, rules, and protocol, someone who wants to personally enrich his family through the office of President of the United States. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. And ironically, there were many examples of this happening in the previous administration, at least when the previous administration, the president himself, was a vice president in the Obama administration. This is what was there for everybody to see. And they went to great lengths to hide that from you. They even had 51 so-called intelligence officers tell you that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian propaganda. Remember that? Before the 2020 election, they had 51 intelligence professionals, the best of the best, the brightest, the people who understood what we were up against, what we were facing in this world, the threat by Russia. They wanted us to believe that this was propaganda, disinformation, and so forth. If you believed it, you were basically a KGB agent yourself. That's what they wanted you to think. I said on this program before, I said this recently, I'll say it again. How does some guy with a microphone in a studio know more than 51 intelligence experts? How did I know that it wasn't Russian propaganda and the 51 experts did? See, that's not the right way to look at this. The right way to look at it is to say I was the one that was trying to tell you what I thought was really going on. They were the ones who were telling you at the time what they wanted you to conclude. They wanted you to believe that you should trust them, that you should trust their experience, that you should trust their authority, that you should trust the fact that there's 51 of them. How can 51 of the best, most brightest intelligence agents get this wrong? It's impossible. They know what they're talking about. They're in there. They see how the Russians operate. They know that they were trying to come up with a way to humiliate the Biden family, Hunter Biden, his father, all this stuff. They were doing it to help get Trump elected because, of course, as the stupid narrative went, Putin and Trump were buddies, and Trump was on a string. Trump was a puppet from Putin. That's the kind of stuff that we listened to the entire first 4 years of the Trump presidency. And of course, it exists to some degree today as well. Of course, right now, Trump's on offense in every conceivable way, so it's a little bit different, which, by the way, that brings up a point worth mentioning. I think that's one of the things Trump learned. Trump says, hey, I was president for 4 years. The media, the Democrat Party, maligned me, attacked me, misrepresented me for an entire 4 years, had no regard for the truth whatsoever, would not present my answers to their questions fairly. They misrepresented what I said or how I responded. They lied incessantly, continuously. It never stopped. And so I'm going to give them something to talk about. I'm going to come in this term, pedal to the metal, and we're going to eradicate the problems that run deep in this country. So, fake news, wanting you to think that Trump is getting a personal luxury jet. And by the way, at the end, I hit on this. I'll say it again clearly, and then we got to take a break, and I want to move on to something else. But Trump, at the end of his term here, at some future date, this Air Force One, if he actually receives this gift and this all goes through as planned, saving the United States of America $400 million to $1 billion, whatever it is, for this jet, and it's utilized by the government, it's utilized by the administration. when the new fleet that's, in production, takes a long time to get these jets, but the new fleet that's in production, when that's ready, those new jets are going to replace this one. And this jet, as I understand it, and as has been reported, but again, who can trust what's being reported today? It's probably going to end up in Trump's presidential library. So it's not like he's going to use this jet. It's not going to replace Trump Force One, and he's going to be jetting around the world in a free gift from Qatar. This is going to end up at a presidential library, which you could say, well, that's still personally benefiting him. That's a bit of a reach to me, especially if you realize that this has already happened, in the sense of there's a version of Air Force One that's at the Reagan Library. That's already something that's already happened. So there's precedent for this. If the plane is being decommissioned, what else are you going to do with it? I mean, and I guess we could cross those bridges potentially later. I don't know. But the idea that this jet somehow is a personal gift and a gross violation of the Emoluments Clause of the U.S. Constitution, and yet everything we saw from Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, which I talked about in the previous hour, everything we saw from President Joe Bribery and his son Hunter, which was on that laptop that they lied and concealed and did all sorts of unspeakable things under cover of darkness. They thought they were getting away with it. These are the things we know, by the way. Makes me shiver to think the things we don't know that's been happening out there. But nonetheless, why is it only a big deal when President Trump is involved? You know the reason. The reason is to stop him. The reason isn't because the media has an interest in justice or truth. The media has an interest in furthering the agenda of the Democrat Party, the radical left. They have an interest in stopping President Trump and the implementation of his agenda, and they will do whatever it takes. Friends, got to take a breather, quick time out. I want to tell you really quickly before I get to the break here, last week, this is the last week that we are accepting lifetime memberships to our Inner Circle program. $99 lifetime membership. You can join by going to toddhuffshow.com/join. Get more information there as well. This goes through Friday, May 16th. After that, there will be no more lifetime membership opportunities offered. $99, that's it. You're a member for live exclusive content, behind-the-scenes stuff, video chats, all kinds of stuff that we're going to be doing behind the scenes. $99 lifetime membership, toddhuffshow.com/join to find out information or to sign up. I've got to take a break, my friends. Quick time out, back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. So I want to shift gears here a little bit. I told you off the top, if you were with us at the beginning of our number one today, which if you were not, I would say shame on you. I'm kidding, but you can always catch programs that you would have missed by subscribing to the podcast for free at Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also can go to the website, toddhuffshow.com. But at the beginning of the program, I mentioned, I don't listen to a lot of other, actually, I would say I listen to none. I'll skim the news, so if a commentator ends up in the news for something, I might see what he or she has said, or if it's on social media and trending, or I stumble upon it. But I'm not listening to people on the regular anymore. The only one I did that with was the late, great Rush Limbaugh, who, well, his fingerprints are all over this program, even though I don't try to imitate him. There's things that I say that honestly are as much for me just to keep kind of as a memento of sorts to myself, a hat tip to him. But I'm not trying to, no one can be him. We're all individuals. But I try to learn from him. But I don't listen to stuff today. I don't listen to stuff today. I know Joe Rogan's incredibly popular. I've heard some of his interviews or parts of the interviews, but I don't listen regularly. That's what I was talking about. But I want to get to this because I find this very, very interesting. This was, I saw this retweeted by I think I actually saw this on Bongino, rvmnews.com. This is a tweet that's embedded in this article, this post. From the tweet or the post on X was from the Post Millennial. And it's a clip. This is a couple minutes long. They're talking about space. Joe Rogan and his guests are talking about space, the size of space, how big it is, all of this stuff. He's talking with a writer and TikTok creator named Cody Tucker. I don't know anything about Cody Tucker. I'm just setting the scene for what's going on here. So they're having this dialogue, and I'm going to pick it up where Joe Rogan talks about the size of the universe and just how crazy and complicated and overwhelming that is to think about. And it leads them to at least a little bit of banter about the idea of the Big Bang without a creator, and the idea, comparing and contrasting that with the story of the Bible, particularly the culmination, the climax of the Bible, which is the life, death, resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, to take away the sins of the world. And Joe Rogan seems to suggest or believe that it's a lot more crazy to believe in the Big Bang, that the entire universe was condensed to the size of a pinhead, exploded, and then miraculously turned into everything that we know around us, everything that exists today. That is a lot more difficult and hard to believe than the God of this universe created everything, as the Bible said, and pursued us as we strayed from him and sinned from him, pursued us ultimately through his son Jesus. And that's what Joe Rogan concludes. I just want you to listen to this. This stuff is always on my radar. I like this because of all the things we talk about on here, my friends, which matter. We talk about a lot of things that matter with our country, with the type of life we're going to live this side of heaven. But I'm going to say that how you handle the information discussed in this clip that I'm about to play, your conclusion with these questions, these are the most important questions you will ever answer in your life. These are the most important questions you'll ever answer. There's a part in the Bible, a couple of parts in the Bible, where Jesus turns to someone and says, "Who do you say?" There's one particular where he says, "Who do you say that I am?" To the disciples. That's the question that we all must answer. Who do you say that Jesus is, my friends? Listen to this exchange Joe Rogan has with his guest here on his podcast.
Only see so far. We see so far, but even so far is only so far.
Well, and then they're saying like it's always expanding, which that can't be true, because like what is it expanding into? If space is space, you know, if they're like, oh, it's like blowing up a balloon where everything's okay, but you're blowing up a balloon in a room,
right?
So what's the room that you're blowing the balloon into? And then that's in a bigger room, and then that's in this.
And then there's the concept that it's actually finite. It's not infinite, and it's some sort of donut shape. It like goes back around eventually.
But then who made all that?
Right?
Like, is there a God? Did God make this,
or is God the universe?
Yeah, but then who made God? And then that bothers me.
Right, but
like, who made that thing?
Is that a thing that we think that, like, because we were born and we die, that we have these biological limitations that we attach to the universe itself?
That's that's fair. That we see things as being built and destroyed.
That there's always been something. Well, wouldn't it be crazier if there wasn't something at one point in time? That seems even crazier. Then there always has been something. Because if it's just something, if it's just the nature of everything, there is always something, right?
Right.
It couldn't be nothing and then all of a sudden everything. That seems...
Because what started that? What kicked that off?
Exactly.
What snapped its fingers? Like
That's McKenna's great line. Terrence McKenna had a great line about the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's because it really is true.
Yes.
And it's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason that anybody's adequately explained to me that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on that one.
Yeah.
Jesus makes more sense.
Jesus makes more sense. Of course, Jesus makes more. Listen, Jesus makes more sense. And I know, listen, there are a wide variety of listeners, especially when it comes to a topic like this. You are free to believe what you will here. But there are, I've gone through this before. There was a great, I guess you would call him theologian / philosopher, R.C. Sproul. He passed away recently, well, within the past several years. And I remember reading a book of his called The Myth of Chance. This is an old book. I probably got it somewhere. I just turned my head. It's not on this bookshelf. It's probably somewhere else. But in The Myth of Chance, he says that there's 4 possible explanations for the existence of our universe. And this is what he says. I think this is brilliant and profound. He says, number 1, the universe is an illusion. But if the universe is an illusion, something must be having the illusion. And then that something, whatever it is, must fall into one of these 3 remaining categories. So the first one is really just a way of saying it's kind of a catch-all for people that try to find some sort of a loophole to say that there's, the universe isn't real. But if it is an illusion, then something has to be having the illusion, and then it must fall into one of only 3 categories. So there's really only 3 explanations for the universe. Even if you accept that it's an illusion or believe that it's an illusion, one of these 3 things has to be true. Number 1, the universe is self-existent. That means that it is eternal. That means that a lot of what we know about science is either wrong or it conflicts with what we know. The second law of thermodynamics, for example. I mean, we know science has discovered that the universe came or started as in a highly organized state, and it is basically becoming more and more chaotic. If the universe was infinite, we would have long ago reached the point of total chaos, because you can't say in an infinite timeline, you can't say one more day and it will be, we will reach the point of chaos. No, the chaos would have already happened, because we would have had, an infinite timeline means infinite in both directions, meaning there's neither a beginning nor the end. That's, by the way, that's one of the characteristics of our Creator. So it's not self-existent. The second potential explanation is that it's self-created, which of course makes no sense, which is what Rogan's getting at here. The universe is self-created. What does that mean? Well, the entirety of science is built upon the concept of cause and effect, right? We study the cause of something to understand why it happened. The underlying assumption, and when we ask why, is that we assume that there's an explanation that makes sense to explain how something is the way that it is. And when we ask why, that's really what we're asking for, that explanation. And the idea of self-creation doesn't make any sense, because if something created itself, was it there before it was created? If it was, then it had to have been eternal or created by something else. And if that's the case, it wasn't self-created. So anyway, I've got to take a break, but I want to go into this a little bit more with the time we have remaining. Quick time out. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Final segment of today's program, and I wish I had more time to talk about this today. I did, because this is, of all the things that we discuss, listen, we cover a lot of important things, a lot of things that are entertaining, that are very important, but this one, to me, is the most important thing we could possibly discuss, which is, what do you do with this idea of Jesus? Joe Rogan was talking about this, in essence. with a guest on his podcast recently, and I was giving you R.C. Sproul's 4 possible explanations for the existence of the universe. And I'm telling you that he offered this up. He's passed away, but he said if there's, he basically put out the challenge. If there's another explanation, then tell me what it is. And I can think of nothing, and there was nothing that anyone else has ever suggested as a potential explanation for the existence of the universe. I want to get back to that in a moment, but before I do that, friends, let me tell you, are you tired? Let me ask you, are you tired of spending your hard-earned money at businesses that turn around and support leftist causes? That's exactly why we created Freedom Marketplace. It is a free searchable directory of businesses that share your conservative values, businesses that have vowed not to support leftist causes or leftist candidates. No strings attached here. This is a place that you can go for free and find good, patriotic businesses that are pushing in the same direction as you. Check it out today, freedommarketplace.net. That's freedommarketplace.net, liberty and business for all. All right, so let's get back to this. The 4 causes, or the 4 explanations, I should say, for the existence of the universe. This came up indirectly on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it just got me to thinking, and I want to share this with you. The first is that the universe is an illusion, which, of course, we said then something must be having the illusion, and that person or that thing having the illusion must either be one of these other 3 explanations. The first is that thing having the illusion is self-existent. That means that it's eternal. The universe is not eternal. The evidence is that, first of all, the universe would be in complete and utter chaos today, if that was the case, because of things like the second law of thermodynamics. We know that matter is not eternal, and it just doesn't it doesn't compute with science. The second is that it's self-created. That concept flies in the face of logic and philosophy and reason. Something cannot be said to create itself, because if something created itself, it was there before it was there. And if it was there before it was there, it didn't create itself. And if it created itself, then what was there before it was there? What was there to do the initial creating? It doesn't make sense. It's a self-defeating principle. And the last explanation is that the universe was created by something that's self-existent. Something or someone who's self-existent. And friends, no matter how hard we look, no matter how much we may not want that to be the case, because, here's where the rubber meets the road. People don't want this to be the case, because that means if I am created, then I must, by definition, abide by the rules of the one who created me. And see, as a Christian, this makes perfect sense to me, because I have a sinful nature. My sinful nature is to serve myself, is to worry about myself. My sinful nature is to say, do things your way, seek pleasure, do what you want. Don't seek what your Creator has prepared for you. You know better. This goes back to the Garden of Eden. Did God really say He doesn't want you to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? God just doesn't want you to be like Him, right? You can basically be your own God, and that's what is appealing to so many people. I think if we were honest with ourselves and find that quiet space, I think that's the truth of the matter. I'm not saying there's not real questions. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of things that I don't understand, because heaven knows there are many. I don't have all of the answers, but I will tell you this has been revealed in a lot of ways. Revealed through a lot of ways, ultimately through the person of Jesus Christ. But the truth is, this universe was created by a loving God who wants a relationship with us. The reason that the Big Bang doesn't make sense is because the Big Bang seeks to provide an explanation that avoids the necessity of God, which is philosophically a requirement. There's no other way around it. You don't have to say, although it is, I firmly believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no man comes to the Father through him. He's the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. There is nothing or no one. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. There is no other God but the God of the Bible, Yahweh himself. But this argument, this philosophical argument, doesn't argue necessarily for the God of the Bible. It argues for the reality that someone or something must have done all of this. And I love that this is happening on programs like Joe Rogan. I love watching him. I love watching Elon Musk struggle and question and pursue these things. I hope you do as well, friends. I've got to go. SDG.